Welcome back. We just triggered the time travel to go to Misty Ahnonay, and actually I don't need to link back to Misty Ahnonay itself. I'll just go to Relto and use the shell marker to link back to the shell cloth, which should be inside the control center. So now that we've triggered the time travel, it should take us into the control center of Misty Ahnonay. And indeed it does. Well, there's a 2 on the wall here, so this is control center 2, which is the control center for Misty Ahnonay. It looks very similar to the one in Water Ahnonay. I can just see one of the fake islands, which I suppose are paintings in this version as well, through the gap there. Behind here, there is another door and another one of these levers, which still does nothing. Door on this side is closed, so we cannot get there. But there is another shell cloth here. So let's use that. Well, if there's a control center for Misty Ahnonay, then undoubtedly there is one for Space Ahnonay as well. And since it didn't look like there was anything of interest in the Misty one, let's check the space version. Which means we have to walk around again, use the pedestal. As you may have guessed, this age required very careful planning before I recorded it, just to make sure that I don't waste any time, because if you do anything in the wrong order, then you can end up having to do this link dance to get back to the correct version very, very often. And I want to avoid that as much as possible. So let's hope I don't make any mistakes. Of course, by saying that, I have pretty much guaranteed that I will. Well, let's see if Space Ahnonay has a control center. And it does. Ah, I actually forgot to point something out. See, I told you, guaranteed I made a mistake. There's a shell cloth here, and you might wonder what that is for. Well, Control Center 2, the Misty version, we couldn't get through that door. It was locked. And this shell cloth will allow us to get to this part of Control Center 2. And I could have pointed out why we need to do that by checking behind the door on the other side. However, I forgot. In this control center we find another clue, 219. Does this lever do anything right now? No. See if there's anything else here. No, this door's closed. And that is why you needed to touch the shell cloth in Control Center 2 here, because if you hadn't done that and used the original shell cloth, you would have linked to that area of the control center and would just be stuck behind that door. And now that we've touched this shell cloth, we can use that to get to the Misty control center behind the closed door. And although I neglected to show what that's for, let's just do that anyway, under the assumption that there will be something useful there. Which means we get to do another link dance. Because we have to go to water and back to Misty. So by now we pretty much know that Kadish wasn't traveling through time. He somehow created this age to create the illusion that he's traveling through time. But in actuality, all he's doing is somehow switching these three different versions, which are all fake. How is he switching these three different versions? We don't know yet. But judging from the sound it made when we pulled the lever inside the Tower of Water Ahnonay, it's probably some kind of mechanical process. Okay. Can link back to water. And we will immediately go back to Misty version, because there's no point in using the shell marker here, because we could already get to that side of the control center in the water version, because both doors were open. Okay, so now we should have time traveled, in quotation marks, back to Misty. So now let's link to that part of the control center where we couldn't get before. So, is there something vitally important here? Not really. But what is here is a Relto page. Yes, believe it or not, all that trouble was just for a Relto page. Well, we're stuck here. Nothing else we can do. So let's head back to Relto and see what that did. And what it did is add a dunny clock over there. How nice. Now we can see what time it is. Unfortunately, I have no idea how to read dunny time. Okay, well, we are pretty much out of time, so I'll continue in the next video.